Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the great MAGA rally of 2025. Our good friend President Trump's been going wild in the Middle East, doing art of the deal all over the place. So the bull market is back. So we had to bring the boys in to try to make some sense of what's going on out there. We hope everybody's in a good mood. We hope everybody is out there making money. I feel so American. I'm going to watch Rocky IV and Rambo 3 when I get home today. That's how pumped I am. What's so funny, JR? So let us know in the chat, where are you guys watching from? Say hi. We want to keep the chat as active as possible. So get in there, say hi, and let us know where you are watching from. Of course, our friend Itz is here in the US. Okay, so I'm going to go straight in and throw the question out. Do any of these details with these trade deals, does it even matter, or is it enough that there's just less uncertainty? And anybody just jump in whenever you want.
Less uncertainty, that's what matters for the market, but not so much the deal itself. I mean, I think the China deal, I don't do we actually even know what the details are? I mean, seriously, we probably don't, and yet the market gapped up 4%. The Qs was up over 4%. So it's more the uncertainty, basically, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell initially if there was even a deal.
Exactly, no details, nothing.
But I mean, I don't know. Is it just contrast where we went from total chaos to the hint of less chaos?
Yeah, so we went from basically having an embargo on trade with China at 145% tariffs to taking a 90-day pause where we're putting it down at 30%, and 20% of that is still fentanyl tariff. So I think that would be very easy to get rid of. I think just between what we saw from China and what we saw in the UK deal, we kind of know where the floor is. We know where a lot of things are going to end up, and Sami got it right. The market hates uncertainty. So this is a rally that is coming from two things. One is less uncertainty, and two is just a massive, massive positioning squeeze of people who are underinvested, and a ton of forced buying that is occurring in the market, and it's starting to get a little crazy at these prices this fast at this point, in my opinion.
JR, what do you think of all this?
I think I don't even know. It's not even certainty. The market just needed for Trump to stop breaking crap. Like, this is a remarkably strong market. The market just needed for Trump to stop breaking things. Into Powell, I told my room, I said, we get through Powell and Trump. If Trump doesn't do very much talking or much of anything, this market should go higher. And this is where we are.
Okay, I'll throw the question out to the audience. So rate Trump as president. Type 11 for good, type 22 for bad. And it is interesting because in early April, this whole chat was super, super negative, and I feel like the sentiment towards Trump has come up quite a bit just because of, I guess, the market coming back. Yeah, we're getting the 11s in the chat.
I'm putting a 22 for that being a terrible question.
Okay, why is it a terrible question?
You're just trying to get everybody in an uproar and get the pro-Trumps and the anti-Trumps to battle each other in the chat. But you do what you got to do for the ratings. I'll do what I got to do for my P&L.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, I'm not saying good for the market or bad. Just people. Let them speak their minds, and trust me. If the market drops 1,000 points, it's going to be all 22s across the board. So technically, I'm sort of like insulting the audience at this point. Okay, so next big question. Again, I'll throw it out to everybody. Does this have legs?
The Qs has room for sure to the all-time high, for sure. Easy.
Okay,
why do you took out the resistance?
Why do you think that, Sami?
We took out the resistance, and every time we got to a prior resistance level, if we were going to pull back, that's when it should have happened. and every single time we just kept going. So we're definitely headed to the all-time high. I mean, I feel certain about it, especially when it comes to the Nasdaq.
Yeah, well, Trump has been, they're cutting AI deals in the Middle East, so it seems like, I mean, a month ago, everybody was acting like Nvidia was about to go out of business, and now it's up like 50%. JR, do you agree with Sami with that? It's blue skies ahead for the Nasdaq.
So we had an overhead supply zone at 573.30 in the SPY, and I said if we break that and get price acceptance, it's very likely that we see all-time highs. There's been a gamma flip in the market. Okay, so we're squeezing. The thing is, you got to think about these things in 60 to 90-day increments, and when the fundamentals catch up to the fervor, okay, and this market begins to get a little clarity here as to the after effects of the situation, and China gives Trump the middle finger, which, by the way, okay, the media is characterizing China as desperate and China as, about to tap out. Take a long view of history, man. These, this country exterminated 10% of their population on a communist whim. They can withstand Donald Trump, okay? I could easily see Xi Jinping pulling out of a trade deal at the very last minute into June, July, and this market, finding itself at the corner of holy crap and 48.35. You know what I mean? Like, we are nowhere near out of the woods. Are we going to see a technical move to the highs? I absolutely concur with Sami. That doesn't mean we've got, the secular bull trend is back in business and, Rocky's done training in Siberia and he's ready for Ivan Drago. We are nowhere out of the woods here. And you're going to start to see some concerning economic data into the summer, and that coupled with vacillation on a trade deal, you could really re-experience those lows in a very fast fashion, like jump out the window fashion. So technically, this is maybe a sustainable rally through through May, June, but after that, you got to be real cautious, guys. That's
okay, all right. Derrick, I'm going to ask you the same question, I guess, in a different way. But do you think the market is now underpricing the odds of surprise bad news? Because like JR said, China doesn't even put up with protests, so they also have a bit of a do anything factor.
Sure. So first of all, the market technicals here look great because of the levels that we've gotten back above, and it looks bullish. It looks full steam ahead. I don't think that we can continue higher at the rate in which we have been moving these last 3 days. I think that we need to get some sort of a technical time or price correction to reset this market up to see if we can move higher. And then that also gives the opportunity for bears to create a failure here, which I think really requires the market to get back below 570 in the SPYs. If you can get back below 570 in the SPYs, then I think that you are getting a fake out. But for the moment, the market looks incredible. It was able to recapture those levels. I think it's extended and needs to reset up. As far as to more directly answer your question on China, US, I totally agree with everything that JR just said. I think that this was actually entirely the United States acquiescing on this and taking a step back and really wasn't China at all. That doesn't mean that China doesn't want a deal. Doesn't mean that they don't want lower tariffs. Doesn't mean they don't want economic prosperity. They definitely want all those things. It's in their benefit. They're just not going to deface themselves in the process to be able to get there is really what it is. So the United States comes to them and says, hey, we need to get a deal done because, oops, we accidentally started blowing up our bond market and our stock market and everything else. China's going to say, okay, we're happy to kind of reopen trade. And if you look at the pause, all the pause really did was kind of bring things back to where they were. Like the tariffs that China had on the United States were, depending a little bit on what analysts you look at, like somewhere between 6 and 9%. Now they've got 10% tariffs on us. It's not really that much of a change. And the United States is a little bit of an uptick as well. And we've got this 90-day situation to work it out. And everybody wants economic prosperity. That's the one thing that I'm I'm pretty confident on, and that just means lower tariffs across the board. But they're not going to agree to a deal that's going to hurt them either. They're just not going to do that. I kind of agree with what JR said. They'd rather just fight to the end. It's more going to be about what the economic data looks like, I think, this summer. I think that's going to be the really the big thing. That's the really big wild card. I was saying it to the team last night in our afternoon meeting. The one thing that I'll never discount is the ability of U.S. corporations to do a great job. And even when it comes to all this uncertainty around tariffs, or first of all, look at the 2022 bear market, right? The 2022 bear market should have been so much worse when you think about us having to bring inflation down from 9.1% to the latest reading was 2.3. And we ratcheted up interest rates in order to be able to do that. Historically, that's going to lead to a much worse bear market than what we saw. The reason why it didn't, there's a couple of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is because corporations saw it coming ahead of time. They saw it coming ahead of time. They raised capital ahead of time. They did what they needed to do. And now here, it's a similar situation. Is this tariff situation bad for U.S. corporations? Yes, very obviously it is. But they did a great job building inventory in advance, getting those shipments in advance, preparing for this. So if this is a thing that lasts for 3-4 months and then we end up right back to where we were, which I think is a possibility, the corporations probably did a good enough of a job where they're not going to blink and they're going to hold up great. If this is something that becomes significantly sustained, then we have a bigger problem. But I think all signs point towards everybody, Trump wants this market higher. He saw what happened, and he's pulling back on everything across the board in order to get us there. So,
Derrick, he said he didn't care about the markets. He said he didn't care about the markets.
That is the biggest load of bullshit that I have ever heard.
Please, no profanity, please.
How dare you? I'm clutching my pearls.
This is a rated PG show. I will not put up with this. Okay, JR, Zen Trader is asking, are you drinking a Red Stripe or some kind of kombucha?
That's for me to know and for Zen Trader to find out.
All right, Zen Trader, please mind your own business. Okay, all right. Well, I want to talk about two of the big stories of this market. The first is the big drop in gold. We've talked about gold many times. I believe the last target you gave me was either 32.50 or 32.85, which was cleared earlier. And since then, it's been dropping like a rock. So, what do you think of gold here?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, why not? Sure.
I said gold was a sell 3 weeks ago. You don't want to be buying gold in a risk on market. That's like, the first thing your daddy should teach you is you don't talk about Fight Club, and then number 2 should be don't buy gold in a risk on market. And my mama raised me right, so yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this hourly chart here. It's a bit of a tale of two cities, right? So here, let me share my screen. It'll help.
So, what is a good age to start talking to your children about how to trade gold?
Dude, my kids ask me about gold and the McClellan oscillator every other day. I'm dead serious. All right, hold on a second. All right. So, just looking at gold futures here. I mean, you violated that 3,200 pivot today. Back at 3,400 in late April, we warned that this was overextended. I said late money longs are chasing the move. People who have no business trading gold are starting to get involved. You had a 2-wave corrective. You set a pivot here at that prior secondary support and had a lower high with secondary 2-wave corrective that made it a newer low. So it's a tale of two. It's a tale of two cities. There's people here who are thinking, at some point, this is a very half-assed wedge, but they're thinking, this may be, instead of a distribution top, this could potentially be reaccumulative. And when everything goes to hell late summer around the apex of the wedge, that, our cumulative efforts will be well worth the wait. And we're going to see 3,700 and there will be much rejoicing. But the truth is here, that gold is weak and probably headed lower. until the market tops out. So I would stay away from it as a long.
Okay, Derrick, Sami, you guys have any thoughts on gold?
I actually talked about it in the room today. I had a student a couple of weeks ago in the room ask me, he has a position in gold, and asked me what to do. And that was actually, I'll tell you the exact date. It was on April 21st. And that was actually the top. The next day was the top. And my exact words were, any day could be the top, because we were going climactic. And we had put in a doji bar, reversal bar, and we had like the biggest volume bar on the daily chart. So any day could be the top. I wasn't sure we were going to top out yet, but any day could be the top, and that was the top. So if you think about gold just basically accelerated. So as long as it's going up in a straight, in a grind, in a straight 45-degree angle, no problem. It's sustainable. Once it starts to accelerate, then it becomes unsustainable. And gold accelerated right when the market was bottoming. And so you got the double whammy, basically, double effect. And it's coming in right now. Gold, the GLD looks lower to about 280 to the 20 MA on the weekly chart, which is also the pivot on the daily chart. So gold, to me, GLD looks lower to about 280, maybe 275. And then we'll see if it gets there, we'll see how it reacts to support. And that will determine whether we should expect another bounce back up or if it's really done for now. And I think more likely than not, gold is done for now. I'm not saying it's going to crash, but probably lower to 280, 275 on the GLD and stays there for a while. That's what I think.
Okay. Derrick, do you care about gold at all these days?
This eToro IPO just opened, so I got an eye on that. Do I care about gold? Not really too much, to be totally honest. It lost a support level today, so it doesn't look great to me. It's kind of just like inverse fear trade of the market for the moment. So, if we see the market give another leg of fear, which I think could happen this summer, then you'll see gold recapture a bit. But for the moment, this is just an avoid for me.
All right. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin. So, JR, you gave me a target for MicroStrategy for 470 a few weeks ago. So Bitcoin's been on fire. You still like it?
Yeah, man. I still think the same thing I did. Let me share my chart again. I don't know if anybody really cares, but here, let me show. All right, so Bitcoin, I basically told my traders back on the the week of the 18th, April 18th, I basically said, you're getting a neckline break here. It's not an inverted shoulder, it's more like a W bottom, but it's still a neckline. And I said, get ready for the pinch. Once it took anchored VWAP up, the short covering rally started here, and you went right back to the top of the value area, and yet now you're in absorption mode. You're absorbing some of this overhead supply. My secondary targets continue to be 126,000. So I've been in it from 63, still in a quarter tier position. MSTR, I mean, we called it out at 331, and we got to get through that 443 handle. And I mean, this is ridiculous, right? This chart is ridiculous. It's like, you have everybody has a 350-pound friend that wants to become a circus acrobat, and it's just like you look ridiculous. Well, I mean, this chart looks ridiculous, but it is what it is. It's doing what MSTR does. So
okay,
so good.
Okay, Sami and Derrick, how about you? Have you guys been active in Bitcoin? Sami, I feel like you and I haven't talked Bitcoin in forever for some reason.
I know. I am more active in Ether right now, but it's probably topping out at the moment. Bitcoin was good, but it never really gave a great setup, whereas Ether did on the daily chart. And I actually called it live on the microphone, but I haven't been as active myself in Bitcoin either. So, but yeah, very bullish, ahead of the market, leads the market. It was more bullish than the market was, or before the market got really bullish. Bitcoin was already on fire, And so Bitcoin is definitely leading the market and looks good. It's just at the all-time high, so it's at resistance. It's probably going to chop around for a while before eventually making new all-time high. But I don't have any doubts that it will crash through the all-time high and continue higher.
Okay, Derrick, how about you? Any thoughts on the fun action in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies?
I got to give Bitcoin some well-deserved credit. I've kind of been bearish on the entire concept of Bitcoin on MSTR. I think everybody knows that. I've done pretty well actually on the short side last calendar year and this calendar year on Bitcoin and on MSTR. And then when the market was really weak in April, we saw some interesting things happen in Bitcoin on a couple of trading sessions where all of a sudden there was a few days there where it kind of acted like this idea of digital gold. And I got to give credit where credit is due on that. I have never seen any use case on Bitcoin. That's been the primary reason why I've been bearish on it. It just seems like it's worth what the next guy is willing to pay for it. And in some ways almost seems like a giant Ponzi scheme to me. But then all of a sudden we had a couple trading sessions where it showed signs of being digital gold. And I stayed away from it. I stayed away from reshorting it. It got too strong. And all of a sudden maybe there's an inkling of a use case. And the other place that I would give it credit is I feel like it actually led the market up, which is interesting to see that it's red today, because I think that this market, like we were saying earlier, I think that the market is very bullish because it was able to recapture some major levels, but is starting to get a little silly in terms of extension and needs to have a price or time correction. And in the same way that Bitcoin kind of led this market up, it's interesting to see that Bitcoin is down today. So maybe that's a little bit of a signal, along with the fact that we're starting to see little inklings of a VIX divergence. Nothing huge there yet, but positive VIX with the market still being green kind of today and yesterday. And also the final thing is it looks like they're really starting to run the crap in the market today. I'm looking at Space, SPCE, what a piece of crap company, up 15%. I'm looking at RGTI, up 22% right now.
The dash for trash.
I'm looking at Rocket Lab, RKLB, up 10%. And actually some of these charts look decent, but I think it's been very consistent ever since the meme run in like early 2021 or whatever that was, that a lot of times when we're getting near shorter term tops on the market, and I'm calling it a shorter term top for a technical price correction, I'm not calling for an absolute top that brings us back to April lows, at least not yet. Maybe I'll change my mind if I see a real technical failure, but I don't want to predict a technical failure because that's not a good idea. But there's a few signals right now, and potentially Bitcoin is one of them, that's telling me that this market needs a break.
Okay, awesome. All right, okay, now we're going to get to ideas in just a minute, but of course we have a big topic today, a very unusual one. I want to ask everybody, what is your favorite fruit and why? Silence. Don't you people eat healthy? What's wrong with you?
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit? Oh my God, that's like the worst answer anybody's ever given.
I like grapefruit.
Grapefruit sucks.
I got this thing where I go to the store over here and they got a lot of weird exotic fruits, and I always try to grab a different one and eat something new. I've had like star fruit recently, whatever that is. It was pretty decent. I'm a fan of dragon fruit, even though it's a little bit plain. I just think that they look really cool, and I assume that they're kind of healthy. But when I was a little kid, my mom used to give me half a grapefruit every day, and it's always stuck with me ever since. So I'm a big fan of grapefruit. They're just a lot of work to really do them right. So I don't eat them as often as I should or as often as I would like. But there's an answer to your silly question.
They're 50% sugar. They're the highest. They have the highest sugar concentration.
Are they? I didn't know that. That's probably why they're so delicious.
Of any fruit, yes. So my favorite fruit would be either berries in general or figs. I love figs. I grew up eating figs, and it's not a lot of people love figs, but that's probably my favorite fruit.
JR, are you a pineapple guy, as the audience says?
No, my favorite fruit is the sirloin cab, maybe a ribeye steak, medium rare. It's a beautiful thing. I remember I fed a cow an apple once before we ate it. The fruit is the food of the food, and I like to go direct business to business. So yeah, not for me, man.
I think that blueberries deserve a big shout out too, because they're just super, super healthy for you. So blueberries I eat almost every day. Grapefruit's my favorite, but I rarely eat it. Blueberries I eat almost every day. They're super good for you. They're great for your brain. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Blueberries, absolute superfood. The best fruit though is pineapple. I don't know what's wrong with everybody here. Pineapple is by far the best fruit. It's the easiest to pick out. You can even boil the skin and turn it into tea. It's amazing. This is the worst food related segment ever. JR ducks the question and Derrick picks grapefruit.
No,
and Sammy picks figs.
The cow covers all the food.
All right,
group, man.
we're gonna end. The segment is over. It's over.
That was terrible. That was really bad.
All right. Okay. All right. So, but what's not going to be terrible is my next question, which is, and anybody feel free to jump in. What is your number one idea for the next 10 years? You have to hold it for 10 years. There's no screwing around. There's no trading. You just have to hold it for 10 years. What's it going to be?
By the spy.
What?
By the spy.
Dude, you idea jacked me. Damn you. Yeah.
Really? You too, JR?
You want to make money? 15% year over year on average, you buy the S&P 500.
10 years.
Should change your name to Warren.
These are bad answers,
Exactly.
but these are bad
Listen to
questions.
Uncle Warren.
Okay.
Can we get a better host?
Derrick, all right. Why is this a bad question?
No, it's not a bad question. I mean, look, 10 years, I have no idea what's going to happen over 10 years. Buy the S&P and buy some ammo in case the world ends. If it doesn't, you're going to make that 15% every year. And if it does, then you're as prepared as you can be for it.
Yeah. I'm going to be retired in 10 years. Probably be retired in 2. So, don't care.
It's gotta have to be some kind of a speculative stock, do or die, like like Tesla or something like this. If I just think that's what if it's like one company you want to bet the farm on, or that's what I would go with. Something that's either going to crash and burn or will solve our main problems in life on planet Earth.
I like that attitude. That's very American of you, Sammy.
There you go.
Jack the Orange Man is telling us JDSU. Terry X is saying terrible question. Well, Terry, Terry's uninvited next week.
We should have a bet on how many out of wedlock children Elon's going to have in 10 years. I think that's a good betting pool.
I think
I'm going with 48.
I think I would go about 27.
27. All right, that's a good number.
Okay, so folks, obviously, our worst show ever. Now, I could sit here and take responsibility for that, but I'll pass the buck. I'm definitely blaming JR for this one. Can't even tell me what kind of fruit he likes. So, should we return next week? Type 11 for yes, 22 for no. If you say no, I would not be surprised. Rocky in Siberia. We actually do have a Rocky in Siberia here. Sammy wants out. Okay, guys, we will try to do better next week. This is our all-time low. It can't get worse than this. So everybody, have a wonderful day. Good luck out there.